guys, welcome to my YouTube channel and your lecture series for the rest of this semester. This is lecture number 1 for your class, my 1302 GO2, my 8 o'clock class, and my GO4 2:30 class. Bear with me today. This is going to be the first lecture that I've done for you guys on my YouTube channel, so hopefully it goes as smoothly as possible. I am definitely prepared. I have my phone with my PowerPoint in case I get off track, or that way I don't forget to mention anything. I also have not 1, but 2 cups of coffee. We have a beautiful backdrop setting for our first lecture. We also have 2 student advisors. Ruby and Damon are here to help assist us in our lecture in my mother's beautiful backyard. So if you hear barking, it will be them. But anywho, with no further ado, let's see. Don't forget, you do have your understanding resources quiz due this week. So don't forget to get that done. I know it is extensive. Trust me, I didn't make it. I don't like it either. I'm glad I don't have to do it. It is the assignment that is put on you guys by the college themselves, so you have to get it done. So just don't forget to get that done by midnight on Saturday. Everything else that you need is obviously posted for you on your Canvas page. These are just lectures to help coincide with the PowerPoints that you can refer back to, since, this is a face-to-face, see, just like in class. This is a face-to-face class, and a lot of you do better with recordings, do better with lectures to listen to as well. So just pretend we're in the Granbury campus. Again, backdrop a little different. I love my mother's yard. But let's go ahead and get started. Let's pick up where we would have picked up with after spring break, which is the Cold War, chapter 27. So go back several weeks, which, by the way, considering it's April 1st today, I'm wearing a sweater. I'm just saying, it's actually cold out here. And there they go. You will hear them. Ruby! Rube! See? Real time. This is real stuff, people. Okay, so let's go back a few weeks before we had spring break, if we can think back that far. Damon. And back to the Cold War. So we finished up World War II. You guys went over some of those slides on your own, to the end of the war with Japan and so on and so forth. But the year that World War II comes to an end, 1945, spoiler alert, right, is the year the Cold War will begin. Now, there is a huge difference in a hot war and a Cold War. Hot war, obviously, is like every other war we've had throughout history. It is World War II, it's World War I, it's this, Damon, don't eat that. It's the Spanish-American War, it's the Mexican-American War, it's the War of 1812, it's, please don't. He wants to help badly. It is every other war we've ever had throughout history, because you've had troops on the ground, you've had physical fighting, you've had action, you've had loss of life, you've had armies displaced. A Cold War, there is no fighting, guys. There will not be one shot fired. We almost might have an atomic bomb shot at us, but we didn't. Just saying. So not one shot fired, not a troop on the ground, no armies, no loss of life. It's all political. It's completely political. There's no physical fighting whatsoever. But I'll tell you, if this was put into the same category as every other war throughout history was, it would by far be the longest war in American history, because it went on for over 20 years. True story. We're not going to cover in expanse all of the whole 20 years. We're going to hit the hot spots. We're going to hit the heart of the war, which was under Presidents Truman, Eisenhower, and Kennedy. But I mean, it went all the way on until almost 1990, guys, 1989. So it would be the longest war in American history, and technically it is if you combine hot and cold together. But so it's different. It's a different type of war than we've ever seen before. But it is different to note the different. It is important to note the differences between a hot and a cold war, like hot and cold coffee, right? Huge difference, and it is between the United States and Russia. The big question is, what caused this? What we're fixing to talk about, this huge event. What caused it to happen in the freaking first place, right? What is a Cold War and how did it start? The tensions that will transpire between Germany. Don't ask me where that came from. See, we might as well be in class. Between Russia and the United States, they've been brewing all the way back since the days of World War I. We had, obviously there was some heat and some bitterness and tension during World War I, and especially after, when Russia was not allowed to join the League of Nations due to the fact they had become a communist country, right? So there's conflict between the two countries because of communism in the first place. Then Russia is not allowed to join the League of Nations. Then hostilities and the way we handled Russia becoming the Soviet Union in the 1920s. We talked about how we did not handle that well. We expected them just to abide by our measures and our means and our rules, regulations, which you cannot ask that of another country, right? And we had the first Red Scare. I mean, tensions between political leaders and that type of strife has been brewing for years. We hit World War II, the Lend-Lease program, right? What happened, during the Lend-Lease program when Russia had to pay $2.6 billion and countries like Britain didn't. They just had to up the amount of business that they did with the United States, and they didn't owe us a dime while we expected Russia to pay. I mean, so there's all of these things that some of them make sense to why Russia is salty at us. Russia believes that we didn't get involved in World War II early enough. We should have helped Russia more in World War II. Russia, people-wise and fatality-wise, did suffer, one of the most. I mean, it was bad. It was pretty bad, but Britain did too. But we were on Britain's side. Russia felt like we were alienating them in World War II. They felt we should have ended the Holocaust, as we talked about. Right? So a lot of that. But then there's other things, like Joseph Stalin, who, don't forget, I have the videos for you to watch on your Canvas page under modules. There's a video on Joseph Stalin on there. Phenomenally, tragically interesting individual. As horrible as Hitler in so many, 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 many ways, but actually beloved in his country too. He's an interesting individual. But he had things that were kind of childish that you said, really? He actually thought that was going to be reality per se. Spoiler, we had the test. We dropped the atomic bomb on Japan. I almost said Germany, good lord. On Japan, right? We were not the only country working on it, though. We were just the first country to get to the atomic bomb. Britain was working on it, as was Russia. And when we get there first, we dropped it on Japan, and it was obviously a traumatic success. They were like, Russia literally was like, great, how did you do it? They want us to basically share our secret nuclear weapon recipe with them, right? Like it's a freaking chocolate chip like cookie or blah blah chocolate chip cookie recipe. That's not gonna happen. That's not gonna. I mean, dear God, you're not gonna give another country that type of technology just because they want. Stalin is salty on that, which sounds silly, but it was a true thing. There's still the anger over the Americans' response and just attitude towards communism. Also, there's this whole melting pot. Some reasons make sense, some don't, as to why they were salty at us. But regardless, there is a really hostile, tense piece, peaceful tension, if you want to call it, between the two come the end of World War II. But then things do transpire. For once World War II comes to an end, with both countries, Germany and Japan, very quickly, kind of like Hitler was talking, as soon as he came into power in 1933 as Chancellor of Germany, Stalin begins to talk about the spread of friendly communism. Kind of what Hitler had in store in terms of controlling the world, but Hitler wanted to do it militarily. Stalin's got the same intentions. Stalin's got the same belief system and the same goals as Hitler. He wants to control the world politically, though. If Stalin could have his way, he would cause every country in the world to follow in Russia's footsteps, kind of like the domino theory, one after another and after another after another, slowly turn to communism. And he could lead all communist countries from that point on and literally create the world as a communist country. It gets more in depth in the PowerPoint, but again, that's kind of a broad overview. Stalin sees a communist world the way Hitler wanted to control the world, and he was going to go do it militarily. Stalin's goal is to do it politically. And again, you may go, what? That sounds really wacky and stupid and out there. Guys, just like it was possible with Hitler, it was also possible with Stalin. If Stalin played his cards right, especially considering, don't forget, guys, how broken half of the world is right now. I mean, a third of the world is very susceptible, right? Some countries in South America, you got freaking Antarctica, etc., etc., Africa, etc., etc. But think about how broken and vulnerable, how many three-legged buffalo there are in these herds over in China, in China, good lord, in Asia, because of the war between China and Japan. All these countries are broken and susceptible, who need a protector, need a leader, or who are desperate for someone to come in, be their saving grace and take the reins and save them and rescue them and help them recover and grow and heal. Stalin is set to be that person. That is his goal. And so there's just like there was a path for Hitler to succeed in world domination, there's also a path for Stalin to follow and succeed in causing countries one by one to fall to communism. And the biggest obstacle in his path would be us, right? But as we're going to see today, we'll hit in this lecture today, this first half of chapter 27, the Cold War, as it will be labeled on my YouTube channel. There was a very sneaky way which the United States could have slowly been coerced into communism too. And right now you may be going, oh, what? There's no friggin', trust me, when we get there, there's a if things had played out differently, it was possible, guys. Keep the open mind of the United States becoming communist. It was an option at one point in history. I'll explain more later. It's been dangled that carrot over here, right? So, anywho, but obviously we did not. Hitler did not control the world. Stalin's not going to control the world politically, right? So that's not going to happen. But that is what that's why the Cold War starts, to keep that from happening, to keep Stalin from being able to succeed, right? That is why we have the Cold War, is to stop communism. So all of these things transpire, the end of World War II, all the reasons that Russia and the United States are already salty and angry and bitter at each other, that World War II comes to an end, and immediately Stalin basically jumps on this friendly communist world bandwagon, and we freak out. Think about how badly we freaked out during the 1920s when, like with the first Red Scare, when we deported over 6,000 Russians out of fear. Can you imagine how mind-blown emojis our government's going to be when Stalin is talking about spreading communism across the freaking world? Exactly, right? Thank you. It's not going up. We're going to completely panic. But it's one of those things where, everyone is thinking the same thing. Everyone is panicking. We're in panic mode mentally. Everyone is having panic attacks at this in government. But everyone is also thinking the same thing. It's like I ask you guys in class what 5 plus 5 is. And you guys all just kind of look at me. Or you just look at your notebook and you're like, my dear God, please don't make eye contact with me. Don't make me speak. But you all know the answer, right? Oh, you know what happens. You know what happens. Everyone in government is freaking out. But no one wants to be the first to speak. They all know what they need to do. They all know what they should do, but no one wants to actually be the one to do it or to voice it because they don't want to sound stupid or whatever the case may be. But everyone is thinking the same thing. It just takes someone to voice it, and then everyone else falls in line. Well, that's what I was thinking. Well, that's what I was thinking. Well, that's what I was thinking we should do. And everyone will fall in line behind the leader, right? So, it turns out the leader, the person who will basically launch us in the right direction and cause us to take action in this Cold War to begin in the first place, is a man by the name of George Marshall, who was, I don't want to say, don't want to get my name here wrong. Yeah, he worked for the State Department. I want to say Secretary of State. See, I knew that wasn't right. That's why I have my phone here. Just saying. He worked for the State Department. It's a man by the name, and I just said George Minute. Nope, George Kennan, who worked for the State Department. See, there we go. I have to relay it back to. I've done like a million of these today, by the way. First day of my PowerPoints online. My lectures online. Anyway, George Kennan. He worked for the State Department. He will create the long telegram, which the long telegram, let's just say, was a long telegram. Yeah, it's 5,000 word message. Can you imagine? Because, a telegram, when you send a telegram, they send it by the amount of words. Every word is worth the amount of money, right? Can you imagine if this was actually a telegram, how much money that would have been to send if it was 5,000 words. It is not actually a physical telegram, but it is called the long telegram. And basically, George Kennan said what everyone else was freaking thinking. I mean, it was like, duh, no-brainer, guys. We're all thinking it. Someone needs to voice this, and we need to act on it. We need to stop this from happening. Because, again, World War II is just ended. Remember, we didn't even want to get into World War II in the first place. It was when we were faced. Britain and France and Russia and other countries didn't want to get into World War II in the first place because they were so financially drained still. They were still so economically broken. They were in such pieces after World War I. If they were broken enough, they were desperate not to have to fight World War II, but then they had to fight World War II, and after all, and how broken and Dutchmen do you think they are right now? There's no one else over in Europe. There's no one else. I mean, and there's no one in Asia who's going to touch this right now. There's no one over in Europe who is capable of standing up to Stalin right now. The only giant who could stand in the way and possibly fight this, possibly keep this from happening in the world right now is us. We're still okay. Our economy has recovered due to World War II, believe it or not, because again, all the business that came from it that we did, the Lend-Lease program, people are paying us back, people would have gone back to work, jobs, etc., etc. The war put on top of everything else that Roosevelt did with his New Deal, right? So, I mean, we're in good shape. We have, the United States is politically, we're in shape to fight this. Economically, we're in shape to fight this. Militarily, if it comes to that, which it never did, but we would be in shape to fight it. I mean, so we are the only country that really has the capability of standing in Stalin's way and keeping this from happening at all. And Kennan says, if we don't get off our friggin' butts and do something about this, we're just going to let him walk on by. We're going to let this happen. The only people who can stop it are us. Why the hell aren't we doing anything? We need to take action and fight against this, or we're just going to sit back and watch it happen. Do we want to sit back and watch it happen? Do we want to stop communism? We need to get off our friggin' butts and do something about it. And it's one of those things, everyone's thinking it. Everyone's voicing it like, well, yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Well, that's what I was thinking too. Okay, fine. Everyone else falls in line. Someone's got to be the first to say it. Even the president, Truman, who, by the way, as we unfortunately did not get to talk about in class, is getting a lot of heat for dropping the atomic bomb. And it's one of those things where we hadn't gotten a little bit behind before spring break. I wish we could have talked about it, because I would have loved to hear, if I could have gotten y'all to speak, to love to hear what you guys thought, what you had to say about it. Because in this day and age, how many decades later, it absolutely makes sense. And it'll never be a universal yes. There will still be opposition to dropping the atomic bomb. As there should be. I mean, it's one of those decisions where it is not black and white. It was, yes, it ended the war. It did what needed to be done. You probably have about 80% or so historians today who claim it was the right thing to do, but you will still have those who oppose it, those who believe it was the wrong thing to do. Still to this day, right? 1945, it was the most, Truman will just be raked over the coals. He will just be beaten to death with baseball bats, verbally. People will absolutely be just aghast that he obliterated the whole entire nation. It's very controversial. He's very hated for it. So he hasn't wanted to take action on this Cold War thing right now because he's just being raked over the coals. And the last thing he needs to do is another type of foreign affair that's going to make him even more controversial and add more crap onto his plate, right? But when Kennan finally comes out with a long telegram and says, we need to act, and everybody, all Congress is like, well, yeah, and all of a sudden there's this huge bandwidth of people wanting to get behind it and stop Russia and Stalin. Well, it's like, it's a breath of fresh air for Truman, because now he can act, and he knows he'll have support, right? So very quickly he will come out with his Truman Doctrine, which he says, okay, well, if we're willing to do this, he's like, guys, this entire thing, in fact, not only will the mission of the United States, but the rest of the next 20 years, the Cold War itself will revolve around this concept called containment. The backbone of the Cold War, great test question, is containment. What is containment? I knock over, which again, I have not one, but 2 cups of coffee. If I spill my cup of coffee, my goal is to clean it up and not let it, we'll go get paper towels and clean it up and not let it spread any further than it already did, right? I'm going to contain my spilled coffee and clean it up. It's the same thing with communism. We can't do anything right now about where communism already is. But if we play our cards right, we can contain it where it is. We can keep it from spreading any further to any other countries, right? We have all these 3-legged buffalo throughout Europe who are vulnerable to, politically they're desperate for someone to take the reins of their country and help them recover. It could either be Stalin, who will push them towards communism, or it could be us. So we're going to contain communism in the countries where it is, and our goal is to not let it spread any further. Because if we don't let communism spread any further than it already is, Stalin can't spread it across the world, right? So Truman is looking at this issue of containment, saying, all right, can't do anything about where it is right now, but we can keep it from spreading. And where is it going to spread next? Long story short. He looks at Europe. He looks at all the countries in Europe, go with me, as a buffalo herd, right? Again, all these feel like a buffalo. But he knows Stalin is going to go after the weakest first. So when a lion descends on a buffalo herd, even if they're all three-legged, who is he going to go after first? The weakest, the most vulnerable, the easiest catch, the easiest prey. And Truman says that's who we should be looking at too. That should be our first mission. Those should be the first countries we help. Who are the most broken? Who are the most vulnerable, weak, three-legged buffalo? Who is Stalin most likely going to go after first? That needs to be our first target to help. So we break it apart. We look at to see who is the weakest, who is most likely Stalin's going to be easiest targets. And there's two countries that come to mind: Greece and I almost said France. Good God, Greece and Turkey. Greece and Turkey. They are the bottom of the food chain. They are the broken rung at the bottom end of the already fractured ladder, right? Greece and Turkey are the most vulnerable, and Truman says they need to be first on our list to help. We go from there. So he goes before Congress, asks for $400 million to help Greece and Turkey stabilize them. As long as we stabilize them, we go over and help repair their economies. They become friendly to us. They become, allies with us. They promise not to be susceptible to Stalin or open their door to communism, as in, we'll help you recover your economy as long as you stay loyal to containment and you don't follow Stalin and communism. We'll help you rebuild your country. Well, that's all they're looking for in the first place. They're looking for a savior. You promise that, we'll be your savior as long as you promise to stay away from communism. Deal? We'll deal. This is a huge hit. In fact, both countries will be incredibly loyal. It'll be a huge hit in Europe. And both countries will be incredibly dedicated and incredibly loyal to us. And in fact, one of them will also be one of the first countries to join NATO when we create it in the 1950s. One of them might just be the first to allow us to store all of our nuclear weapons in their country in case we need to attack Russia. So the Truman Doctrine will be a huge hit throughout Europe, but you will stabilize Greece and Turkey. But once we've got the weakest, the two most susceptible that were already, dying out in the plains countries taken care of, the question is, well, who's next? And that's where it gets difficult to choose. Because you had two who were way more broken, but then the next level up, the next rung of the ladder, it's a guessing game. Because there's dozens that are susceptible. It's not like there's any that stand out. There's dozens that someone could go after any of them. And we have no idea. If we save, just go with me, I'm throwing out random names. I'm not saying they're on the list. Let's say we say Poland and Austria. Well, Belgium and Denmark are just as broken. Stalin can go there next if our attention's on those two. So what do we do? How do we handle this? And that is when the Secretary of State, sorry, mine was going earlier. The Secretary of State, George Marshall, see, that's where my head was earlier, will come in with the Marshall Plan. And he says, okay, we've got Greece and Turkey stabilized. Stalin can't go after those, but now there's a melting pot in this whole collection of countries there for the taking. He's like, so instead of picking and choosing who to help at this point, helping these two, and then later on helping these two, and then later on helping these two, we need to help everybody together at the same time. We need to create a program in which basically we help, we don't pick and select. We help everybody who needs it. So he says, we will all make this kind of like the Lend-Lease program that Roosevelt created. He says all of these countries who are open to United States aid, any country willing to join our side of anti-communism, any country willing to join our side of containment and proactively promise their stance that they will not fall to communism, they will remain loyal to containment in the United States mission on this topic, we will help recover. So this offer of, as long as you side with us on this matter, as long as you will join our bandwagon of this, as long as you promise to remain anti-communist and loyal to the United States on this stance, send us a list. What happened in your country? What areas do you need help fixing? Whether it's potholes on the road or your government. Send us a list of all the damage that was done to your country in World War II that you need help repairing to stabilize your country, and we'll take care of it. So this offer of, look, as long as you're loyal to us on the stance, we will help you rebuild your country. We will give you what you need in turn for your promise of siding with us on the concept of communism. So we're not just going to help one or two of you. Any country throughout Europe willing to take our offer on this, contact us. What do you need? Send us your list. We'll send you the money that you need. We will help you repair your country, right? We'll help everybody at one time. Which, and I want to get my number here wrong, so he will ask. Yep, so $400 million went to Greece and Turkey, right? Marshall goes before Congress and asks for $1.3 billion to help any country throughout Europe who comes in, who's willing to take part of this plan and ask for our help, and we will abide. And the number of countries, every country can. Oh, crud. That just happened. Bear with me, guys. I have a whole list here. Bear with me. Here we go. The countries that partook in this, per se. And these are just a few. These aren't everybody, just a few. We have Austria, Poland, Belgium, Denmark, France, Italy, Norway, Sweden, Switzerland. Turkey's on the list, but that was part of the Truman Doctrine, etc., etc. Everybody, every country you can think of took advantage of this. But I'll tell you what, we were also very, very careful to cover our tracks as well. We're not going to shut Russia out. Because don't forget, Russia and the United States were allies. They were allies in World War II. We know they were broken by Hitler as well. We're not, that's no secret to us, right? So when we come out with the Marshall Plan and basically say, hey, look, anybody who wants America's help in recovering your country, we are willing to help you. We will even extend that olive branch to Russia. Say, look, it's not like we're gonna help everybody who's against you. We're willing to extend you this olive branch of peace, olive branch of friendship, kind of better relations between us right now. Things really aren't good. If you would like our help putting your country back together, considering what happened when Hitler invaded you guys, we are more than willing to help you. You can take advantage of the Marshall Plan, and we will help you put your country back together too, if you would like our aid. Did Russia take it? Hell no. We say, look, no tie. No tricks. There's no catch here. Hey, we're willing to help you if you would like to accept our offer. We will also help you rebuild your country. No strings attached. And we did mean it. But someone's like, no, I see what's going on here. Absolutely, no, there's no way this can just be some friendly olive branch of peace crap. There's no way, absolutely not. I see what's happening here. You're just trying to get us to drop our guard. You're just trying to get us to lower our defenses. You're just trying to get in our country. You've got some ulterior motive here. No. See, I'm not stupid. Tell you what, you think I'm just going we're going to just lower our defenses and trust you guys? Hell no. You know what? Thank you for the offer, but we decline. No, thank you. Paranoid much? But we can at least say it's not like we didn't offer, right? Okay, can't say though that we didn't include you guys in this. You're the ones that said no. I'm just saying, right? See, we're smart. But regardless, this will go on for years, guys. Any country willing to stand up against communism, we will give our support to. We will give our finances to. We will give our attention to. Was it the right thing to do? Oh, yeah. Was it the popular decision in this country? Hell no. Here's the deal. Truman, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, but researching, you might agree with me, is one of the most underrated presidents. Underrated and understated, actually, presidents we've ever had. He deserves so much more credit and gratitude and attention and praise than he gets today. Especially when he was president, guys. He was president in some of the most controversial times in this country and just got raked over the coals. Go back to, if you had 1301, go back to Washington when he was making the right decisions and it wasn't the popular decisions and this country turned on him. It's kind of that way with Truman, in a sense. Because again, the decision to drop the atomic bomb, unbelievably controversial. Again, those in politics absolutely get it. A lot of the American public didn't. And some of Congress didn't too. I mean, it was insanely controversial. So he's absolutely a target for ridicule over that. And now, in terms of the American people, he absolutely seems to be paying all sorts of extra attention to Europe. He's putting all his attention on Europe and the American people who he's supposed to be governing, ruling, taking care of. Ruling's the wrong word, but you get the point. He's supposed to be presiding over as president. Are second. We're the second one. We come last. All of Truman's focus and attention, according to the American people, because again, this is so not true, but it's how they're perceiving it. It seems like all he cares about is Europe. All he cares about are those over there. He's not taking care of us. He is not protecting and presiding over his own countrymen. What type of president doesn't put his countrymen first? What the heck? He's not. I feel like he doesn't care about me. And so the disdain and the anger and the resentment against Truman just continues to grow, very unfairly, by the way, because again, that was not true. Not only was he making the right decisions to protect our country, but he was still president of this country. He was still doing his job. Every news coverage, every story, everything was about Europe, and the American people just felt like he didn't care. Again, very untrue. But again, this was where this country was. So, he's fulfilled the rest of FDR's term, right? FDR's fourth term. Now it's time in 1984 for him to run in his 1984. That just came out of my mouth. See? Happens all the time. We could be in class or my mom's backyard. 1948. 1948. Roosevelt's fourth term is done. He can run in his own right if he does in fact wish. He's going to try. So, hence a great story, by the way. This is such a great story, y'all. Oh my god. The presidential election of 1948 is easily the biggest presidential upset in American history. Still could be seen, I know our last election just a few years ago could probably hold a candle to it, but I'll tell you, Trump's election, Trump's presidency has just set all sorts of new records and broken all sorts of bounds. But so let's say up until Trump's election, easily, this was the biggest presidential upset in history. No one saw this coming. And it's a pretty fun story on top of that. But regardless of Truman, long story short, 1948, caught myself. 1948, he's going to run for president in his own right? But he's so unpopular due to the end of he ended the freaking war, by the way. But nope, he's so unpopular due to the end of World War I. He's so unpopular due to this Cold War going on and all this attention he's paying to Europe. Nobody thinks he's got a shot in hell at getting elected, all right? He's done. In fact, so he is the Democratic candidate. Now, way back before spring break, our long spring break, by the way, I asked, when Roosevelt ran and won that fourth election, he ran against a Republican by the name of Thomas E. Dewey. I asked him then if you'd ever heard his name before, but then I said you might. Well, guess what? We'll hear his name again. This is where, y'all. For Dewey he's a Republican candidate, very popular, very loved. I mean, he is the freaking, America's darling at this point. People adore Thomas E. Dewey. He's just a love bug. But then there's also the progressive candidate, a man by the name of Henry A. Wallace. And this is the progressive president that was created by Teddy Roosevelt. Teddy ran he created the Progressive Party, aka the Bull Moose Party. Tried to run in 1912, tried to run in 1916. It's kind of evaporated from the spotlight, but it hasn't disappeared. I mean, it hasn't just dissolved. It's been around. It's just been a small party that's not really, not really big enough to really be represented in like a presidential race. So it's been laying pretty dormant for a while. People still consider themselves progressives, but they've gained a lot of backing. There's a lot of people with money in the party. And at this point, they feel like they've got a chance to make a run at the presidency as a political party. So you've got the Republican candidate, that's Thomas C. Dewey, the Democratic candidate, Harry Truman, and you've got the progressive candidate, Henry A. Wallace. Now, Wallace has been around in politics. Everybody knows him. He's a very good, well-known name. He served in Congress for years upon years upon years, reelected multiple times. Very well liked, very well known. And when he comes out, Henry A. Wallace comes out swinging. I mean, he's serious about this thing, y'all. He's got no remorse for this whatsoever. First thing, in his platform, make sure I get all this in there, the progressives, propose stronger government regulations, better control of big businesses. They campaign to end discrimination against African Americans, to end discrimination against women. They're backing a minimum wage, which has not been put in play yet. Saying all the right things. And then, of course, the end of the atomic bomb, the Cold War, very controversial. So he's he's saying everything the American public wants to hear. He's bashing Truman, which is what you do in an election. But you get the point. Bashing the atomic bomb, bashing the Cold War, bashing everything controversial, siding with the American public, which makes him even more popular, right? We love people who think the way we do. So he's doing all the right things, and he had a really damn good shot at this, y'all. Until something very interesting comes out again about Henry A. Wallace. No, don't forget, he's been around for decades. People know the family name, people know his name. He's been around. And up until this point, no one had a clue, because again, we did not have reporting. 52 years ago? No, God, 72, good Lord, 48. 72 years ago-ish, go with me. We didn't have paparazzi, we didn't have reporting, we didn't look into the background of every candidate the way we do now. It wasn't until he got put on this spotlight and this platform that we should probably know everything we needed to know about him if he's going to be president of this country. And when he was finally, for the first time, really dissected and looked into, it was found he was a communist. Belonged to a communist party. When the Progressive Party that is backing him for president is looked into, almost 80% of the Progressive Party were communists. The money being put into the Communist Party came from these communist groups. And he himself made comments that were suspicion. This caused people to look into him in the first place. Made many, many comments, such as the fact. Yeah, he repeatedly refused. Obviously, he's going to deny this to the day is long. But make all sorts of comments and sayings, such as, communists are the closest thing to the early Christian martyrs. Which when he said that, it's like, whoa, what did he just say? He's looked into. And here's the deal, people, especially, he's Russian. His parents are of Russian descent. Keep that in mind. Russia has become the Soviet Union. He was selected for this as a child. He has grown up as basically the chosen one, in a sense. This has been his mission from the start. He was supposed to gain people's alliance. He was supposed to join politics. He was supposed to infiltrate our government. He was supposed to become well-liked and well-known. The goal was to get a communist, guys, into the Oval Office of the White House. We were going to be the main objective problem in Stalin's plan of a world of communist countries, right? We had our walls high. We had the freaking Atlantic Wall, Pacific Wall, kind of like, Germany built in France. We had that going around our country. Figuratively, right? You get the point. Our walls were as high as Jericho. We were prepared to fight communism from the outside in. We were not expecting to have to fight communism from the inside out. The big bad wolf tried to get into the three little pigs' houses from the outside in, right? Tried to blow and buff his way in. How smart would it have been to slowly change the mindset of this country if we had had a communist secretly sitting behind the Oval Office, behind the doors of the Oval Office in government in the United States? Hashtag progressive, secretly communism. Slowly start changing our perspective and our mindset from the inside out. That with Stalin's. I mean, that was the whole communist perspective. Even before Stalin, this man's life had been laid out for him. But thankfully, because he had a real, genuine shot at this, people, this could have happened if we had not discovered what we discovered. But thank God we did. Because obviously when this comes out, just the fact that he has any ties to communism, or he supports it at all, if he had not made those two controversial statements, gosh only knows. But he did. Oh, hell, you think he's got a chance after that comes out? Hell no. It comes down to Dewey and Truman. I mean, he will still run. And by the way, he will get third. He will come in last. He will still run and will have his shot in hell. It's between Dewey and Truman. And again, so now you've got the man who's currently president, but hated, controversial, despised. People just can't stand him, etc., or angry at him. They don't understand him. And then you've got the Republican candidate who is just oh so friendly and oh so loving, and people just adore him, and etc., and he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Everybody thinks Dewey's got this in the bag. Every person thinks Dewey has got this in the damn bag. It's ridiculous. Funny how astute they were. I mean, Truman's numbers are so low. But you know what? He's going to bet again. This is a fight. And Truman is ready for a freaking fight. So, down the campaign trail we go. And Dewey is so popular, they feel that he's got this thing in the bag as long as he doesn't put his foot in his mouth, right? So, can you imagine? So he's on the campaign trail. He's going to all these states. He's campaigning as a Republican candidate. But every presidential speech that he does give, these are the type of I just want to remember. These are what his speeches revolve around. These are the type of messages that he's delivering to the American people. Can you imagine going to see your president, the presidential candidate of your party, speak? And as he wants you to, you go to see him give this, this speech as to why to elect him for president. Here we go. So, you go to see your president. Here we go. I found it. So, and the point of his speech, the backbone of his speech is, did you know agriculture is important? Shut the front door, right? Or the point, the basis of his presidential campaign speech is, our rivers are full of fish. Mind blown emoji, or my favorite one, ready? My favorite one. Did you know, my fellow Americans, that your future is still ahead of you? Holy crap. Did you know your future is still ahead of you? These are the points of his presidential speeches. True story. That's it. He's not hitting any political agenda. He's not hitting the Cold War, World War II, anything going on in this country. That's it. Truman is like, what the holy crap? What? Truman, on the other hand, is out there doing exactly what he should do. He's on this tirelessly touring campaign trail, hitting at every station, every stop, every city, and he's hitting the big issues. He's explaining and defending, the dropping of the bomb, trying to explain the decision making behind it, and explain why it was the right decision. Explain what's going on over in Europe. He's hitting every controversial point, trying to educate and explain to the American people about why the decision is right. He's hitting he's doing everything he should absolutely do. And of course, he's also bashing the Republican Party, his primary candidate. He's bashing Dewey, bashing the Republican Party, calling them, because they're not doing a damn thing. So he calls them the do-nothing party. You really want a man like this in office, etc., etc. And he's got a point. He's got a very, very valid point. It's enough to where even the Republican Party goes, okay, we've got to respond. If we don't respond, we're just going to look weak, and it's, we need to, take care of ourselves here. We need to respond some way. But again, they don't want Dewey to put his foot in his mouth or say something that may be seen as negative. So they come up with a game plan. So they're going to respond to Truman's attacks, but it's not Dewey who will be doing the responding. You will go to see Dewey in this presidential speech or debate, and Dewey will be off to the side, waving at people, winking, being all charismatic, kissing babies, smiling, while you will have someone else in his campaign trail, someone else in the political party, actually reading the speech and doing the speaking, just in case something controversial is said or angers people. Well, you can't blame Dewey. Dewey was over here waving, right? He's over here smiling. He's over here, see you, being all cute and happy. Well, this other person's saying it, so Dewey didn't say it. This guy said it, right? You can't blame Dewey for that. And this works. I mean, Truman is like, what in the holy hell is our country coming to? This is just not making any sense in my head. What's so freaking ever? He's freaking out, right? He's absolutely freaking out. David. Hey. Get up, Virus. So it's because, I mean, Truman's numbers are staying low. Dewey's numbers are high. I mean, dude, again, Truman is doing everything right, and on the campaign speech, when he goes to see these people, it seems like it's working because people are whooping and hollering and they're screaming and they're like, "Give him hell, Harry!" "Give him hell, Harry" was the campaign's slogan of his campaign. "Give him hell, Harry!" And people are whooping and hollering and seem to be happy. Hey, Bubba. Say yeah. But on the flip side, his number, so he's like, "Oh, here we go. We're finally getting some back. We're finally doing this right." But his numbers don't go anywhere. His numbers aren't moving. And so as the campaign trail comes to a close, comes to an end, even his own staff, even his own party are like, "You know what, sir, you should be proud. You gave it a hell of a run." They don't think they're gonna win. They're like, "We don't have a shot in hell. It's just we've done everything right, and it hasn't worked. So you know what, you gave it a damn good fight, Mr. President, but if you lose, you should still be proud, because we did everything the right way." Even his own wife, by the way, it's like, "Honey, I love you so much. I'm so proud of you. You did everything the way you should have. I'm so proud of the way you've handled things." I mean, even she's giving him the beloved the loving loser speech per se. But Truman's like, "Hey, this isn't over. This ain't over till it's over, y'all. This ain't over till the fat lady sings, right?" So he says, hope is not lost yet. But the election is over. Now it's time to see who wins, right? So Dewey's from New York. So, and again, the Republicans just know they have this thing in the freaking bag, right? So they rent out the top floor of the Roosevelt Hotel. They got the streamers ready to go. They got the balloons ready to go. They've got everything ready to go. And they're waiting for the numbers to come in and just to celebrate. Truman, however, he is from Illinois, so he has gone down to Alexa Springs, Illinois, to his his hometown to wait this thing out. I'm gonna get my cities wrong here. Alexa Springs. See, that's why I should check. Nope. They first go to Kansas City, Missouri. Excuse me. They go to Kansas City, Missouri, which is where they were gonna wait this out. But again, reporters know where he's gonna be. He's checked into this hotel, so there's still lots of reporters and paparazzi there. He wants to do this thing privately. So it's then from when he goes to Kansas City first. It's from there he sneaks out, aided by the Secret Service. He will sneak out, then go to Alexa Springs, this little shabby rundown motel where he's going to basically wait this thing out, right? He's gonna wait this thing out. He goes, checks in the hotel, he takes a bath, he goes to bed. He's like, "I can't do anything else. I'll wake up in the morning and hear what's happening." It's my dog, Squeaky Toy. He wakes up about midnight, right? He wakes up about midnight and realizes his curiosity's got the best of him. Yeah, guys, I'm gonna see if I can pause this for